Let's start the process of installing Flutter and its dependencies onto our Ubuntu system. To start with, we'll open up a web browser and go to flutter.io. From there, click Get Started, and then click Install on Linux. Now there's a few system requirements required in order for us to get started. Let's fulfill those now. Open up a terminal and type sudo apt install git. Now I've already got it installed, but you might need to install it. Running that command should prompt you to do so. Next, what we'll do is we'll download the SDK. And you can get this from a link within the Getting Started and Setup Linux. Once that's downloaded, put it into a folder like Downloads, for example, and move on to the next step. We'll open up our terminal again. And what we'll do is we'll create a directory that we can put the SDK into. We'll go make dir dev. Next, we're going to change directory into the downloads folder, or whichever folder that you had the Flutter Linux available. And just to confirm that it is there, we're going to take the name of that and copy it. And then we're going to change directory back into that dev folder. Next, we'll run the unzip command, which is tar xf and then tilde and then /, which represents your home directory, then downloads, and then the name of the file, i.e. Flutter Linux. This process can take quite some time. Once that's finished, you should see that the folder Flutter is now available. Now if you try to run Flutter, Flutter's command won't be found, and that's because we need to add it to our path. Now in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll nano tilde dot bash profile. This is editing our bash profile. These environment variables will be added every time we open our console. We'll type in export path is equal to, and then the path in which Flutter is installed, or in our case, it's tilde / dev flutter bin $path. We might fix this up as well. Instead of using the tilde, we'll go home Nathan and reference your user path rather than using the tilde, just to be safe. Then we'll save those changes, and then we'll go source, and then that bash profile file, which basically will reload it. Now if we try to run Flutter, we should get the right output. Now in order to test this more thoroughly, we can run Flutter and then doctor. And this basically just checks all the dependencies are in place. And in our case, we don't have Android Studio or the Android tools chain quite installed yet, but we're going to cover that in the video to come. There's one more thing I just wanted to go over, and that's installing Visual Studio Code onto Ubuntu. There's one more dependency we're also going to need in order to do this. Jump over to your terminal and go sudo apt install and then curl. Depending on what system you're running, you might already have curl installed. For me, I did. Now I can jump back over into the Visual Studio Code for Linux installation tutorial, which is available on https://code.visualstudio.com/docs/setup/linux. Then scrolling down, you want to get to this line right here. We're going to grab that. This is going to pull down the GPG key that we need in order to trust the Microsoft repositories to get Visual Studio Code from apt. Once that's retrieved, we're going to run the next line, which is going to copy that key over into our apt trusted repos. And then finally, you run the last command. And you can then run sudo apt update first. This will update the repos. We should see the Microsoft one there now. And then you can go sudo apt install code. Now I'd already installed Visual Studio Code on this system, but When you get up this stage, what will happen is we'll pull down the installer for Visual Studio Code and install it for you. Once that's done, you should be able to go to your launcher and type in VS Code and launch it. And this will be our chosen IDE for the rest of the tutorials.